move the whole couch.
Hi everyone.
Hello, welcome. Nice to see you today. All right, guide concept number 4, signals.
See, we're moving a lot faster.
We're already on guide concept number 4.
Ooh, look at this go. I will say really quick here that in stage 1, we're just getting exposure to the ideas. When it comes to internalizing and applying and stuff like that.
Yes.
Maybe I shouldn't say anything. They might not go as fast, but they'll be more effective. We'll get more out of it. This is just because it's going to seem like that's all we're going to say about it.
Yeah.
For now.
For now.
Okay.
Because it's the overview.
This is the overview.
And then also when we do stage 2, like we keep talking about stage 2, which stage 2 is like so awesome.
Yeah.
But then there's stage 3.
Stage 3 is the power stage.
Talking about stage 3
yeah,
at all.
Stage 3 is the power stage.
Yeah.
That's where stuff really takes off. So.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Got that out of the way.
Yes. Don't eat the bell. It's just a signal. Taco Bell is an exception.
Maybe you shouldn't eat Taco Bell either. Well, I won't say that. But.
If you don't know what it is, Google it. It's in the United States. All right. Hi there. We've made amazing progress.
Just happened.
Don't know.
Battery?
Oh. Okay. We've made amazing progress. So much progress, my Kindle had to glitch out. Okay, to get to this point. We are about to examine a major lens right now. If you need to get a quick glass of water or stand up and stretch, now is a good time to do it.
Okay. All right, you know the story of Pavlov and the dog. It's very disappointing for the dog. Pavlov presented the dog with food and at the same time presented a neutral stimulus or neutral signal. In Pavlov's case, he used a bell. Fido, the dog, got used to hearing the bell with the arrival of food. Here's where the disappointment comes in. Once Fido associated the bell with food, Pavlov was able to ring the bell with no food and still get the same response from Fido. Poor slobbering Fido and no chow to eat.
Model Matters 1.0. I have a bell. Here, I'll go get it.
Oh, fun. Oh. It's our object lesson.
Okay. All right. Ooh. Sorry, guys.
Move the couch, move the camera.
Okay. The hero's body is constantly bombarding them with thousands of inputs and signals. While the subconscious may be aware of more that's going on, the hero's conscious mind is selectively deaf to the majority. The hero's conscious mind can go along quite merrily, ignoring most of the inputs and signals entirely. Who paid attention to this neutral signal?
Oh, distraction. Fire! One model for viewing these inputs within the body is to think of them as separate control centers that demand action from the hero. For example, the stomach sends up an alert that it is hungry, and the hero must respond and put out the fire before things get worse. I'm not speaking to the health issue here, I'm speaking to the model used to view the signal input from the stomach. This model, the model we just described of sending up this alert and we must respond to it, this model puts the hero in reactive mode and lends itself to further disempowering ideas that put the signals in charge of the hero's internal state, just like Pavlov's bell, only from the inside.
Ooh, so I'm going to talk about that one at the end, especially the part about we're not speaking to the health issue here. Neutral signals. Before Fido associated the bell with food, the bell was completely neutral. It had no meaning. Remember how selective the hero's conscious brain must be on which... Remember how selective the conscious brain must be on which signals it pays attention to? For example, the hero's stomach is empty most of the day, so most of the day the hero is just not paying attention to that emptiness. If some food became suddenly available and the hero turned into the stomach to see if it was hungry, the most likely answer would be yes, and I've been this way for hours.
And that's where we stop.
Okay, yes, so, and when we say, so we're talking about, and not speaking to the health issue here, I'm speaking to the model used to view the signal input from the stomach. And that was a huge learning curve for me, because I just thought that if you felt hungry, that meant you need nourishment, you need calories. And if you don't have the nourishment and calories within a certain time frame, that your energy would drop, your mental clarity would diminish. Like there were all kinds of physiological responses you would get from not having food. And then I also thought that there was a health issue. Like if you don't eat food regularly, you're going to have a health issue. And so when you say, so when you say I'm not speaking to the health issue, we're talking about the emotional response to the neutral signal. It's just neutral whether there's food in your stomach or not. And we talked about how most of the day there's not food there. So yeah.
And that was one example. And if you tuned into our Q&A session last Friday where we talked about injury and other types of signals.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have thousands of signals coming in all the time.
Yeah. Oh, one time I was like, I want to write a list of all of the signals I could be aware of in my body. And I felt like I could just keep writing as long as I was alive. Like there's so many things you can tune in and tune out of in your body, like so many different ways to be aware of what's going on. And if you paid attention to all of it at the same time, how could you even focus on anything other than that?
Yeah. So the point of this concept is kind of the lens of signals. Like how do you view them? What do they mean? What meaning do you give them? And what power do you give them? Yes, and you've been doing it a certain way without probably realizing it. And it'll probably feel like that's just the way that it is. That's just the way that it is. And then I respond, and that's the way that it is. But it's going to be really exciting because we're going to have you take the opportunity to look at what you think is the way that it is and say, actually, you get to choose. And you get to choose how much of those signals are going to be brought to your attention. And analyzing what is the most helpful. I guess how many of those signals, not how much of those signals. How much of the signal, like this power, like this much of the signal or that much, maybe. Living outside the United States has really ruined my English. It's augmented it. It's augmented it. And also what is the way you view the signal that is the most helpful? What is the way you view the signal that is the most helpful? Yes, oh my gosh, like yes. Not only which ones do you pay attention to, but then how you view them that's helpful versus how you view them that disempowers or sends you the wrong direction from your goals and stuff. So yeah. So powerful. All this stuff. We'll get into it more. Yeah. This is just a preview. It's so exciting. Oh my gosh. And when we get to the translation stage 2. Okay. All right. See you tomorrow. See you. Bye.